everybody, welcome to BrickVault. Today in front of us is one very special LEGO MOC designed by the ever so talented Dave Slater. This is the 1989 Batmobile built in a rather grand scale, very similar to what you might see coming from the larger LEGO creator line. And I gotta say, the design of this model really does take the cake. It's probably one of the most recreated or often attempted builds done within the LEGO community for any type of vehicle, I would think. And what Dave has done here is not just synthesize his best building techniques, but he also got extremely ambitious with the model, bringing sort of a new life to something that has been recreated so many times by adding special play features and special interactive features that don't exist, I don't believe, on any other version of this build. Now, before I go any further into the details, I want to say that this build is available at our web store, www.brickvault.toys, where we sell the PDF step-by-step instructions, as well as an XML file, which makes it very quick and easy to order the parts online. This has been quite a journey for Dave, the designer. I've absolutely loved seeing all of the update builds and redesigns that this vehicle has gone through, and the purchase of the instructions from our web store helps support us here at the channel, as well as the designers that go into making these incredible MOCs. Now let's take a closer look at this Batmobile. In my mind, there's no mystery as to why this particular Batmobile is considered the classic of the classic. Its shape commands a lot of power, it holds a ton of sleek and smooth lines like a sports car, yet its overall look breaks the rules of normalcy enough to make it feel like it shouldn't be judged on the same level as just a fast car. It really is a vehicle of a superhero and an extension of Batman himself. In terms of the size of this MOC, it's just over 16 inches long, 6.5 inches wide, and a little over 4 inches tall, or those dimensions respectively in centimeters would be 41 by 16 by 11. You can see the Batmobile here next to the Ultimate Collector Series tumbler, which I believe when comparing the sizes is scaled down just a little bit compared to this LEGO set. And just in case you didn't think we were fans of the Batman series, here are the two big ones next to all of the smaller ones that we've got in the studio. The completed collection certainly is oggle-worthy, but after all, this is a video about the 1989 Batmobile, and there's a lot of fun areas of the build I'd like to focus on to maybe showcase some of the great techniques used to make some awesome shapes, but I can't pour through every little nook and cranny, so let me just focus on a few of the main areas that I think are really important, like number one, the nose. In all honesty, the front here is probably one of the most difficult things to try to accurately recreate in LEGO. There's just a few key curves to the design here that go in a few different directions in a very small amount of space that make it very difficult for LEGO builders. If you look at 10 or 15 different LEGO MOCs online, you'll find 10 or 15 different approaches to get the front done correctly. And not that I'm implying necessarily that there's a right and wrong way to do it, but when you look at Dave's design here, especially with the larger scale, he has managed to get the shape to pop out here in a way that I haven't quite seen done before. Having the corners built onto some hinges and then matching up with the curve of those slope pieces at the top was a very good choice. It definitely allows just a bit more of the smoothness to be captured on the front corners of the build. And then what really gets me for the quality of the detailing here is the way that he got the very bottom center to come out. You can see that the bricks have actually been offset by 45 degrees, and that way those offset slopes in the front really do make a round shape, and those arches curve up into the sides of that kind of cylindrical shape that we have right in the middle. This is probably one of the best examples of an expert technique being used in an absolutely necessary fashion. And what I mean by that is that the building technique itself is complex and pretty creative, but most importantly, it produces an aesthetic look that I just don't think could be achieved with something that was approached in maybe a more simple fashion. When moving on to the sides of the vehicles, we have a nice long slender slant moving up towards the back by the wheel well. You can see a bit of the mechanical detailing also underlying this area, but really what I want to focus on is the pop-up machine gun function. That is correct, you heard me right. This Batmobile does have the pop-up weapon function, just like you saw within the movie. It activates by pulling out this little slide on the side, which functions actually as a disc shooter, I believe, within the universe. And then you crank up this little 1x1, which activates a gear on either side, and you can have the machine guns pop up. The function is pretty darn clean. The tension from the little gears on the inside keep them standing without having to lock anything in place. But then things really get notched up into high gear in terms of functions, because you can turn this into the Bat Missile. Believe it or not, either of the side panels are only attached by 2 pins each, and on the inside there's a whole other set of wheels that make up the interior section for the Bat Missile. I think the part of the look that gets tied together the best here are the inclusion of the extra mechanical detailing on the outsides of the rims that make up some of those tubes and things. Really sort of ties the look of the Bat Missile together. And there's just something so amazing about the fact that this build looked greater than any of the other MOCs that I'd seen out there already. And there was this extra Bat Missile detachment function built into it. During the development process, I was scratching my head. I had no idea that, or I wasn't sure if something like this could be done before, because I'd never seen such a good looking model have such an amazing play function built into it, but it really is the case. I mean, the Batmobile rolls around fine on its 4 wheels. It doesn't feel weak at all when the sides are actually attached, and the Bat Missile as an individual build feels just as complete and just as detailed as if it had been built just completely on its own without needing to be attached to the outsides of the rest of the Batmobile. Now, if you didn't think that was enough in terms of play functions, Dave managed to slip in one more little fun build, and this is honestly my favorite part of the whole thing. If you look very closely at the inside of one of these sort of side panels for the Batmobile, you can see that there's just the edge of a wrench piece. That wrench piece, when turned, activates the little plunger headpiece that you have attached to a light brick, and that's right, you can turn on the headlights. All you have to do is lock both of the lights in place and then reattach the sides to the vehicle, and you've got a Batmobile that has headlights that just stay on until you feel like turning them off again. Granted, the light here isn't particularly bright. It's not like you're going to be able to illuminate a huge area, but in terms of just having this as a show function and having it so incredibly conveniently integrated into the actual build, I mean, I don't know how much more you could possibly ask for with a high quality build like this. Oh, wait, no, I totally know what you could ask for. You could ask for a realistic cockpit opening function. That's right, the canopy opens the same way that it does within the movie. It lifts up a little bit and then ends up sliding forward. Now, the motion might look a little bit different from that in the film, but the overall resting place of the canopy is still relatively in the same place, definitely raised up a little bit. When looking into the cockpit itself, we've got 2 seats, a shifter, control console, and then another sort of swiveled control console that leans in towards the driver's seat that just has a few more gauge detailings and things like that. Of course, it can fit a minifigure, though the model itself is obviously significantly much larger than minifig scale. So in conclusion, I would say that this MOC holds all the cards. It's one of the best looking Batmobiles, the 1989 version that I've ever seen created. And not only that, but it includes a ton of really fun interactive features that all work pretty well. An opening canopy isn't something new and honestly quite expected for a build this size, and I think it's awesome that it opens in a similar way to it does in the film. The inclusion of the Bat Missile was absolutely awesome, and I'm still surprised that it does not detract at all from the overall look of the MOC. Usually an extra function, a big extra function like this one, would probably have some kind of visual detraction for the total put together model, but I cannot find one. And then those light bricks being turned on by the little wrench pieces in the front was totally unexpected, and it just adds that extra spark of showmanship that makes this thing feel really special. Essentially, this model that we've got here is a culmination of a talented designer whose specialty is large cars for Lego building, and then he really pushed the limits with some very fun and ambitious ideas. Also, I didn't mention it earlier, but the influences from those early 90s Batmobile model toys are definitely present here, which I like a lot, and we're just overjoyed with the way this build turned out here in the studio. Remember, if you enjoy our content and you like what you see here, please feel free to go check out our web store at www.brickvault.toys, where we sell the instructions. It does help us out here at the channel and also the designers that go into making these incredible builds. So thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.